Picture this: a brand new Ford truck, fully loaded, $70,000 out the door, sitting in a dealership service bay with the hood open and the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. Weeks go by, then a month, then two. The service advisors keep telling the owner it's being worked on, that they're waiting on a solution, that the engineers are looking into it. But nothing changes. The truck doesn't move. The problem doesn't get fixed. And nobody, not the technician, not the service manager, not even the manufacturer's own support line, can tell the owner when, or honestly even if, that vehicle is going to be repaired. Now you might think that's an extreme case, an outlier, a rare breakdown in an otherwise reliable system. But here's the thing: it's not rare anymore. And the people working inside these dealerships, the ones who see this every single day, are starting to say out loud what the industry has been quietly ignoring for years. Modern vehicles are becoming increasingly, systematically, and in some cases permanently, unfixable. And the mechanics who are supposed to save them? They're walking out the door and not coming back. This isn't a story that manufacturers want told. It's not one that makes it into dealership brochures or television commercials. But technicians inside service networks across the country are raising alarms that the public rarely gets to hear. Internal surveys, industry reports, and first-hand accounts are all pointing in the same direction. There is a growing, accelerating gap between how complex modern vehicles have become and the workforce that exists to repair them. And that gap isn't closing, it's widening. Every single year. We're not talking about a temporary technician shortage that hiring bonuses and a few trade school partnerships can solve. We're talking about a structural imbalance, one that was built into the system by the decisions manufacturers made when they chose software integration and feature expansion over long-term serviceability. The result is a repair ecosystem that is quietly buckling under the weight of vehicles it was never fully prepared to handle. To understand why this is happening, you have to understand what a modern vehicle actually is. Because most people still think of a car or a truck the way they thought of one 20 years ago. A mechanical machine, metal parts, fluid systems, maybe some electronics wired in to run the dashboard and the stereo. That mental model is completely obsolete. A vehicle rolling off a production line today is at its core a software platform, a rolling computer network with mechanical components attached to it. A single mid-range Ford truck can contain over 150 individual control modules. These modules talk to each other constantly, passing data across encrypted communication networks, running processes that interact in ways that aren't always documented, aren't always transparent, and aren't always predictable. When something goes wrong, and something always eventually goes wrong, you're not looking for a broken part. You're debugging a distributed software system while it's installed inside a $70,000 machine that a real person needs to drive to work every morning. And that changes everything about how repairs actually work. Or in many cases, how they don't. In the old model, a skilled technician could diagnose most problems through experience, observation, and a working knowledge of mechanical systems. The tools were universal enough. The logic was traceable enough. A good mechanic could figure it out. But that pathway has been largely closed off in modern vehicles. Today, diagnosis requires access to manufacturer-specific software tools that are often licensed at significant cost, regularly updated in ways that change repair procedures midstream, and in some cases deliberately restricted to prevent access by independent shops. A technician working on a late-model Ford doesn't just need mechanical knowledge. They need software fluency, system architecture understanding, real-time access to technical service bulletins that sometimes don't exist yet. Because the manufacturer hasn't figured out the fix either. That last part is the one that stops people cold when they hear it for the first time. The manufacturer sometimes doesn't have the fix, and the technician at your dealership is sitting there with an open ticket, a confused customer, and a vehicle that no one on earth currently knows how to repair. This is where the official narrative and the lived reality of technicians completely diverge. The manufacturers talk about innovation, about cutting-edge engineering, about vehicles that are smarter, safer, and more capable than anything that came before. And on one level, that's true. These vehicles are genuinely impressive pieces of technology. But what the marketing doesn't mention, what it carefully avoids, is that complexity and serviceability exist in tension with each other. Every additional system integrated into a vehicle adds another potential failure point. Every additional module adds another layer of diagnostic uncertainty. And every software update pushed over the air, the kind manufacturers celebrate as a feature, can change the behavior of existing systems in ways that create new problems nobody has encountered before. Problems nobody yet knows how to fix. Technicians describe the experience in frustratingly consistent terms. Incomplete diagnostic data. Restricted access to the tools they actually need. Procedures that change between one software version and the next. Cases escalated to corporate engineering support that disappear into a queue and come back weeks later with guidance that amounts to continue monitoring. That phrase has become something of a dark joke inside dealership service departments. It means we don't know what's wrong, we don't have a fix, and we're not sure one is coming. The vehicle gets handed back to the owner, still malfunctioning, with a polite explanation that the issue is under investigation. The problem becomes normalized. It gets absorbed into the routine. And the customer, Oz, who paid $70,000 for a truck, drives home in a vehicle that doesn't fully work with no idea when or whether it ever will. Look at the data that's accumulated around this, and the scale of the problem becomes harder to dismiss. Repair times across the industry have been increasing year over year, not because more vehicles are breaking down, but because individual repairs are taking longer to resolve. Technician vacancies at dealerships are sitting unfilled for months. Warranty claim complexity is rising, meaning more time, more escalations, more administrative burden per repair. And diagnostic hours, the time a technician spends just identifying a problem before any actual fix is even attempted, are expanding dramatically, often without any guarantee that the diagnosis will lead to a resolution at all. Dealership service departments are running backlogs, not because they're overwhelmed by volume, but because the bottleneck isn't capacity, it's expertise. And expertise right now is the scarcest resource in the entire automotive service chain. Which brings you to the economic core of this problem, because the technician shortage isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the logical outcome of a system that placed incompatible demands on the people at the bottom of its structure. Think about what's actually being asked of an automotive technician today. They're expected to master mechanical systems that have been growing in complexity for decades. They're expected to learn software architecture, embedded systems diagnostics, and network communication protocols that would be at home in an IT curriculum. They're expected to stay current with training that updates constantly, often on their own time at their own expense. And they're expected to do all of this while working under a flat-rate pay structure, a compensation model designed around the economics of 1970s repair work, one that rewards speed above all else. Modern diagnostics don't reward speed. They reward patience, systematic thinking, and deep technical knowledge. Flat-rate pay actively punishes those qualities. A technician who spends 4 hours methodically diagnosing a complex software fault earns less than a technician who knocks out 3 oil changes in the same window. The incentive structure is telling skilled people to leave. And skilled people are listening. The workforce implications of this are already playing out in ways that are difficult to reverse. Experienced technicians, the ones who've developed intuition and knowledge that no training program can fully replicate, are retiring. And they're not being replaced anywhere near the rate they're leaving. Young workers looking at the trades are weighing steep learning curves, expensive certifications, physically demanding work, and compensation that often doesn't reflect the technical sophistication being demanded. Many of them choose something else, and the ones who do enter the field frequently find themselves overwhelmed by the gap between what their training prepared them for and what the actual vehicles on the lift require them to know. Burnout rates are high, retention is low, and dealerships are caught in the middle, trying to staff service departments capable of handling vehicles that grow more complex with every model year, with a shrinking pool of people who have the skills to do it. The manufacturers, for their part, are not incentivized to slow down. Complexity drives differentiation. Advanced features justify premium pricing. Software integration enables subscription revenue models that didn't exist in the old mechanical paradigm. From a product development perspective, adding capability makes sense. But serviceability? The ease with which a vehicle can be diagnosed, repaired, and maintained over the course of its working life? That often ends up as a secondary consideration. Someone else's problem. And when repair becomes too difficult, too slow, or too expensive, the blame lands not on the engineering decisions that created the complexity, but on the dealership that couldn't fix it fast enough, or the technician who couldn't figure it out, or the customer who bought an expensive vehicle and somehow expected it to be repairable. There's another layer to this that doesn't get discussed enough. In older vehicles, failures were generally isolated. A fuel pump fails, you replace the fuel pump. A starter burns out, you replace the starter. The problem is bounded. But in the integrated software ecosystems that modern vehicles run on, a single component failure can cascade across multiple unrelated systems in ways that are genuinely difficult to predict. A faulty sensor doesn't just trigger a warning light. It can disable safety features. It can affect the transmission shift logic. It can interfere with the vehicle's communication network in ways that produce misleading error codes pointing to completely different systems. What used to be a 2-hour repair becomes a multi-day diagnostic challenge. And at every step, the technician is working against time, against a pay structure that doesn't reward the process, and against a software environment that may not give them the access or the information they actually need. For the person who owns that truck, who spent $70,000, who took out a loan, who relies on that vehicle for their livelihood, the experience is genuinely disorienting. You expect a warranty to mean something. You expect a nationwide service network to be capable of handling whatever the vehicle throws at it. You expect that if something breaks, someone can fix it. Those expectations are reasonable. They used to be reliable. But the reality of modern vehicle ownership is increasingly one of longer wait times, less certainty, and a quiet erosion of confidence in the systems you were told you could trust. Ownership now means navigating a life cycle, managing software updates, tracking open technical bulletins, hoping that the issue your truck is showing is one that somebody, somewhere, has already found a fix for. It's a fundamentally different relationship with a product than most buyers signed up for, and none of this is officially acknowledged. No manufacturer is going to use the word unfixable. No service department is going to put that in writing. But in practice, in the actual lived experience of technicians and owners, some cases reach a point where resolution is never formally reached. The vehicle gets returned. The ticket stays open. The problem gets absorbed, and life goes on, with a truck that doesn't fully work sitting in a driveway, and a service system that has quietly moved on to the next problem it may or may not be able to solve. There are paths forward. Better technician compensation tied to diagnostic complexity rather than speed. Expanded training pipelines with real industry investment behind them. Improved access to manufacturer diagnostic tools, rather than the restricted, expensive, constantly changing access that currently defines the landscape. More deliberate thinking at the design stage about how the decisions being made today will affect the serviceability of these vehicles 5 and 10 years from now. These are not radical ideas. They are logical responses to a problem that the data clearly shows is real and growing. But systemic change is slow, and the vehicles being built right now, sold today, with all of their software complexity and integrated architecture, are going to be on the road for the next decade or more. The gap between what those vehicles will eventually need and what the service ecosystem will be able to provide is not going to close on its own, not without deliberate decisions from manufacturers, from dealers, from training institutions, and from policymakers who understand that this isn't just an industry problem. It's a consumer problem. The $70,000 truck sitting in that service bay is not an isolated story. It's a preview, a visible symptom of a system that has been allowed to drift out of balance, where the engineering ambition of the product has outpaced the infrastructure built to support it, where the consumer is expected to absorb the cost of that imbalance in the form of longer wait times, unresolved repairs, and a quiet erosion of confidence in the systems they were told they could trust. The problem isn't just mechanical. It isn't just a workforce issue. It isn't just a software access problem, or a training problem, or a compensation problem. It's all of those things simultaneously, compounding each other, creating a situation that gets harder to reverse the longer it's allowed to continue. And the people who see it most clearly, the technicians standing over these vehicles, staring at diagnostic screens that don't have answers, have been saying so for a while now. The question is whether anyone with the power to change it is actually listening.